So guys, in this next story, I'm surprised no one's picked it up, but 3 men have been found guilty of murdering Christopher Allbury-Burridge in Northampton, with the 4th defendant convicted of manslaughter. Calum Farquhar, Rakeem Leandre and Jordan Parker were found guilty of murdering the 33-year-old at his home in Kingsley by a Northampton Crown Court jury after more than 24 hours of deliberation. Joel Cyrus was found not guilty of murder but guilty of manslaughter, and all 4 were convicted of conspiracy to rob the victim of cannabis plants he was growing. Mr Allbury-Burridge died from a stab wound to the chest at his house in Rayburn Road in the early hours of December the 11th, 2020. Farquhar and Leandre were also found guilty of having an article with a blade or point, while Cyrus was found not guilty. Parker had already pleaded guilty. The jury retired to decide the quartet's fate early September, and they're due to be sentenced in November. Senior Investigating Officer Detective Chief Inspector Joe Banfield said the death of Christopher Allbury-Burridge is a tragedy, and these guilty verdicts are a welcome conclusion to our investigation. Christopher made one wrong choice in deciding to grow cannabis at his home, and he tragically paid for that decision with his life. So what actually happened to Christopher? So during the 6-week trial, the court heard that the 4 friends had travelled from London to steal Mr Allbury-Burridge's cannabis plants, and Parker stabbed him as they tried to gain entry. The defendants claimed they thought the house would be empty, but the QC James House prosecutor said they planned to rob the property and overwhelm anyone inside. Mr Allbury-Burridge was sitting in the lounge when the window of the back door in the kitchen was smashed, as either one or more of the robbers tried to get inside. The occupant went to the back door and started throwing whatever came to him at the intruders, which was some crockery and cutlery by the sink as well as a plastic drainer. He also shouted, "Get the fuck out of my house," which his partner heard after being awoken by the rumbling and chaos downstairs. Despite his efforts, Mr Allbury-Burridge was stabbed by Parker through the window, the blade going 21 centimeters into his chest, causing him to collapse onto the kitchen floor. His partner looked out of the bedroom window, which looks over the front of the house, and saw 3 men running away, one of them turning and laughing before they drove back to London. She called out for Mr Allbury-Burridge but got no reply, so she grabbed a weights bar and went downstairs and found him on the floor. The partner called her boyfriend's cousin, his housemates and another friend in a panic before ringing 999. The emergency services arrived soon after, but the victim was announced dead at the scene. Police found a knife sheath in the garden which had Parker's DNA on it, and were able to track down the attackers by following ANPR camera footage and mobile phone mass data. Cyrus and Farquhar were arrested on December the 14th, Parker 2 days later with flight tickets to Antigua, and Leandre the following day. Cyrus admitted to police going to the house with Parker and 2 unnamed men to steal the cannabis, thinking it was derelict, but he did not go around the back of the house as he could not get over the gate due to a knee injury, and he ran away when others came back saying someone was there. Parker then told him he stabbed the occupant, but he would not let anyone go down for what he did. Parker only told police the sheath could have been moved and the flights were legitimate. Parker later admitted having the knife and stabbing Mr Allbury-Burridge, but claimed it was an accident as he tried to get out of the door. Detective Chief Inspector Banfield said he was targeted deliberately by 4 men whose greed drove them to commit what they thought was the perfect crime. Having targeted others in this way before, they became overconfident. Jordan took the decision to arm himself that night. He did so without stopping to think of the potential consequences of his arrogant desire to use force in order to take what was not rightfully his. The diligence of our investigative team enabled us to piece together this group's activity in the lead-up and the aftermath of Christopher's death, providing the evidence the jury needed to convict them for his senseless killing. No verdict or jail sentence will ever free Christopher's family from the nightmare of his loss, but I very much hope this outcome provides them with some solace in their grief, and I'd like to commend them for their courage and dignity they have shown throughout this trial. So just want to say rest in peace, Christopher, and my condolences go out to your family. It's your boy GT. Keep it locked, keep it real.